King Harun, ruler of the Turkish Empire, sent his troops to. He wanted to see how the Emir Abdurrahnan governed his land and also wanted the Prime Minister to go there to collect the tribute and taxes that Abdurrahman had to pay. The Prime Minister was warmly welcomed by Lord Abdurrahman and his court. Queen. He was invited to stay for 3 days to give the Lord time to gather money. The Lord invited him to a sumptuous banquet and then took him to his room to rest. The Prime Minister could not sleep. He kept tossing and turning from side to side. At midnight, he suddenly heard footsteps. Out of curiosity, he got up and opened the door to look out. He saw the king of Syria holding a whip in his hand, walking towards the end of the hallway, then taking the key to open a door. Went inside. The Prime Minister crept closer and peered through the keyhole. He saw 2 dogs chained to the foot of the bed. The Lord put the tray aside and swung his whip to hit the 2 dogs like crazy. If only you hadn't and #39. T betrayed me, I wouldn't and #39. T have been so cruel, the Lord repeated over and over, rushing back and forth. That sentence. He whipped repeatedly until he was exhausted, the whip fell from his hand, then he knelt down next to the 2 dogs and took care of their wounds. He said and caressed them, "It and number 39, not because of me." There was no intention of this punishment. The 2 dogs stopped whining and ate the sumptuous food brought by the Lord. The Prime Minister tiptoed back to the room. He could only hear the Lord locking the door. The next 2 nights the same scene happened. The Prime Minister did not say anything, but in his heart he could not help but wonder. On the morning of the 4th day, thanking the Lord for his thoughtful and warm hospitality, he brought tribute money and gifts to the emperor and returned. Istanbul. Returning to the castle, he told King Harun about the strange behavior of Lord Abdurrahman. The king was very curious and surprised. He ordered the Prime Minister to return to Syria immediately to bring Abdurrahman and the 2 dogs. The Prime Minister hesitated. How can I confess that I stalked him for 3 nights? Will he still welcome me as a friend? The king replied, if I appoint someone else, that lord can immediately deny everything. So the Prime Minister had to return to Syria land. Why did you come back so early? Lord Abdurrahman asked in surprise. Haven and number 39, I paid you enough tax? The Prime Minister explained. That and number 39. Not the case, my lord. Then he gathered all his courage and confessed to Abdurrahman that he had gone on a journey. His actions during the 3 nights. I and number 39. Am sorry, my lord. The Prime Minister continued. I didn't and #39. Keep my mouth shut and told this story to the king. Abdurrahman could and #39. Deny it, so he took it with him. The 2 dogs and the Prime Minister set out to return to Istanbul. In front of the throne, Abdurrahman knelt down to show respect and obedience to a vassal state. King Harun ordered, I want to hear it from my own mouth. Khan, the strange story the Prime Minister told me. Don and number 39. Miss any detail? If not, I will punish you appropriately. Abdurrahman immediately told his story. Your Majesty, when my father passed away, he left my brothers a property of great value. But before the funeral, my 2 brothers demanded to divide the property immediately. They wanted money right away. The judge executed the will and divided the property into 3 equal parts. My brothers. wasted that money without worrying about tomorrow. Until one day, they had no money left. For my part, I use that money for business. Thanks to a little luck, I made quite a profit. At that time, my 2 brothers came to my house and asked me to share with them the wealth I had just earned. God replied, "It is not my fault that you guys wasted all the inheritance money." But they kept insisting, trying to promise to be more careful, and in the end I had to give in. I divided my assets into 3 equal parts on the condition that they must go abroad with me to trade. My 2 brothers were very happy to accept the invitation. We boarded the first ship to a faraway country. The ship floated at sea for many days and then encountered an unprecedented storm. The sound of huge waves crashing onto the ship and the mast breaking. I begged the 2 of you to throw away all your possessions and goods to preserve your lives, but they did not pay any attention to my words. I had to climb into the small boat alone and swim for hours. I finally reached the beach. Looking around, I saw that not far from where I was, there was a city wall. 2 men were sitting on either side of the city gate. I greeted them, but they did not respond. The god thought, and quote, "This is not a statue," and quote, then approached. It turned out to be 2 people turned into stone. I suddenly felt extremely scared. Suddenly, something slithered past my feet. Before I could avoid it, out of nowhere, a black dragon appeared, clawing out and clutching the snake. I felt sorry for the small animal that had no resistance. Resisting, the god drew his sword from its sheath and slashed the black dragon and number 39's head. The white snake looked up at the god and expressed gratitude. Its body curved gracefully, and then suddenly it shook itself and turned into an extremely beautiful girl. "Thank you, Abdurrahman, you saved me. My name is Sahida, daughter of the Lord of the Gods. I will never forget your gratitude. If one day you are in danger, I will come to help you." She waved her hand lightly, and the ground cracked. She took invisible steps and then the ground closed. God continued his path. When I entered the city, I saw that the whole city was dominated by silence because all the people were turned into stone. The paralysis displayed before the eyes shows every posture of people in unfinished activities. A salesman holds out fruit to a customer. The tailor is raising his needle to prepare to thread. A little boy is running. A man is lifting his legs preparing to climb on his donkey. Other people were petrified while chatting in the street corners, their mouths still open. The god continued to approach the market. There were sold beautiful carpets, luxurious silks, and suits studded with pearls and precious stones. There are countless bronze boxes filled with gold coins. I could only rub my eyes and stand stunned by that wealth. I looked around and then decided to take a few gold coins because no one saw me. Then I filled my bag with jewelry, a large bag of gems, rubies, opals, diamonds, things that sparkled like thousands of sparks. Suddenly I heard a gentle voice singing, "Read the Quran." Attracted by that gentle voice, I entered the king and number 39's palace. I passed through the rooms and corridors leading to the palace where a king turned into marble held court before motionless court officials. I climbed up the first step and then the second step when I suddenly saw an extremely young and beautiful young woman with sparkling black eyes. She said, "Welcome, Abdurrahman." I was surprised and asked again, "How do you know my name?" "I have been waiting for you for a long time." Only you can take me out of this city. The king imprisoned me because I refused to convert." Saint Allah warned him not to lie, cheat, or plot any more harm, but not only did he not listen, but he also did more cruel things. Then Allah became angry and allowed him and all the people to turn into statues, making them as motionless and useless as piles of rocks. He held her hand and together they left the palace, walking towards the port. There a ship is preparing to leave for Syria. Both of us immediately boarded the ship. The next morning, I noticed in the distance a boat bobbing on the waves like a coconut shell. I was even more surprised to see that they were my two brothers. God helped them climb onto his ship and hugged them, unable to hold back tears of joy. They said that all their goods were swept away by the waves, but they were still happy because they were able to preserve their lives. I told them about my adventures and introduced my charming fiancé. I also offered to share with them the number of gems I had in hand. Day after day, my two brothers never took their eyes off my fiancée because they found her so beautiful. They also did not hold back their eyes of longing for 1/3 of the remaining magic gems. One day, I was enjoying the fresh, cool air of the sea and dreaming about the happy castle I would build and live with my future wife when I saw two pairs of hands lifting me up and throwing me into the sea. I thought I would sink into the sea, but it seemed like an invisible hand reached out to me, lifted me up and took me to a strange land. When I got there, I fainted. When I opened my eyes, I realized I was in a very large room. On a beautiful throne sat the Lord of the Gods. Next to him was a young girl looking at him and smiling. I was extremely surprised when I realized it was Sahida. She said, "Father, this man saved my life from your clutches. Today, I saved you from the waves again, even where your two brothers threw you down." "Did your two brothers betray you?" the Lord of the Gods exclaimed. The god argued when he saw his angry look. "They didn't and #39 do anything bad, I just accidentally fell into the sea." "Why did you have to lie?" he exclaimed. "Nothing can justify them. It is impossible to protect them. Those who do evil will have to be severely punished." Sahida stood up, she took a magic cup, held it high and muttered to herself, "Read the spell, then water the ground. Your brother will be under a spell from now on. I turned them into dogs." Every day and every night, he had to whip them mercilessly with a whip. "If you dawn and number 39, do it, we will have to deal with them." Sahida said so with a firm voice that could not be argued. At the same time, I found myself in the castle I had dreamed of for so long, two dogs lying at my feet and my beloved standing in front of me. The god hugged her with great affection and then sadly watched his two brothers turn into animals. God forgave them and loved them very much but did not know how to undo that magic. I feed them well, give them good food and cool water, and caress them every day. At midnight, Sahida came to wake me up. "Wake up!" He had to beat his brothers. As she spoke, she gave me the whip. I begged her to postpone the night for them to rest, but her eyes were still cold and strict. "Listen to me. Either you or I will take action." I still tried to beg her, so she swung her whip and beat me brutally. My whole body felt like it was burning into cinders. I tried to grit my teeth to keep from screaming but in the end I fainted. Sahida continued to go into the room where the two brothers were and beat them until they fainted. The next day, Sahidah came again. I begged her again, so she beat all three of us without mercy. The next night, I was forced to use a whip to beat my two brothers. I tried to be gentle to ease their pain and take care of them afterwards as best I could. But for 4 long years, my heart was always broken. Here, Lord Abdurrahman ended his story. He stood up, bowed before the king and said, "Your Majesty, I have to go. It and number 39's time for me to beat my two brothers." The king said, "Number. Tonight, please sleep well. When Sahidah comes to wake her, explain to her that you cannot carry out your duties as usual because you were Lord Abdurrahman and number 39's guest on vacation when Sahidah appeared." He repeated what the king had just said that afternoon. After listening, Sahidah hesitantly replied, "I have to go back and ask my father again." After saying that, she disappeared. She returned and bowed before her father and asked him what she should do. As long as Abdurrahman was a guest of King Harun, he would not be forced to carry out the heavy work. Sahidah acts in surprise, "But why? Dear father, Don and number 39's ask any more. Go and convey my words to the Lord and number 39's ears." And this was the first time in a long time that Abdurrahman had such a peaceful sleep. Early the next morning, he asked to meet the king and thank him for his favor. "The one who gave it to me," the king ordered, "call Sahidah here. I have something to tell you." The ground shook and the fairy appeared. "Go and tell your father that I, King Harun, hope that he will forgive the two cruel people, Lord Abdurrahman and number 39's brother, and give them back their human form." "Yes," Sahidah replied and disappeared into the ground. "We must obey," the Lord of the Gods replied. So the king and number 39's words also mean that those were the words of Saint Allah. Sahidah flew to the castle again. She sprinkled water. God poured out the glass into the two dogs, and Abdurrahman was extremely happy to see them return to their original form as his two brothers. Sahidah also threatened, "If you do bad things again, it will be mysterious. Become a dog forever." Abdurrahman and number 39's two brothers had already absorbed the punishment, so they promised sincerely not to do evil again. King Harun married his two sisters to Abdurrahman and 39's two brothers and also made him prime minister. Everyone from then on lived happily together. Thank you for joining us for today's fairy tale. We hope these stories bring joy and meaning to your day. If you love our channel, please hit the subscribe button so you won't miss any exciting tales. Wishing you a good night and sweet dreams. See you in the next story.